Okay, so this is a video showcasing this drawing I made of a Tyrannosaurus Rex that is sitting down. I drew this just a minute or so ago. It's not 100% accurate. I mean, what dinosaur depiction is, we don't know what they were like. We can only make very educated guesses, but we can never know exactly everything about them. We can never know what they were exactly like, down to the nail or down to the wire, because they died out millions of years ago, and we only have their descendants to look at for answers. Their descendants and what little fossils they left behind. Think of how many animals are on Earth. The thousands and thousands, millions of species of plants and animals. And think that the Mesozoic was just as diverse, if not more diverse, than that. There are thousands of different dinosaur species out there. And just think that there were way more that we don't know about, that we've never even discovered yet, in the ground somewhere. Probably already reduced to oil. But yeah, we can only make very educated guesses on what they looked like and how they behaved. We look at trackways to see how they moved. We look at different bones to see what they looked like. And we look at their descendants to see how they may have behaved. But with Tyrannosaurus Rex, it is one of the most well-known dinosaurs and the most researched dinosaur. We know way more about T-Rex than we do any other dinosaur or non-avian dinosaur. Despite the fact that it's not the first fossil of a dinosaur ever discovered, Tyrannosaurus is one of the most well-researched. And we know a lot about how they were. Or at least we have made an accurate as we can depiction of how they were. We know that they got between 18 to 20 feet tall and around 30 to 40 feet long. And we also know that they probably had a lifespan of around 30 or so years. We also know that they were ambush predators. They would hide out in the tall trees and the brush, and then they would ambush their prey, which were mostly large herbivores like hadrosaurs or ceratopsians, or maybe even very young sauropods. We know that they got into fights with each other, as evidenced by what seems to be scarring on their face. And we know that they definitely had small, non overlapping scales with larger scoots on her heads, probably to assist in fighting with each other. Now, I took some liberties with this. I gave this Rex a wrinkly little skin thing for the throat. I also made him super chunky because, as you know, that a lot of animals don't look like how their skeletons would suggest. Like, have you seen a hippopotamus skull? That thing looks like it belongs to a monster. Have you seen an orca whale skull? Looks like it belongs to a sea serpent. But anyways, uh, also I added some pycnofibers to it, or some sort of feathering. Now, we don't know exactly whether they had feathers or not. It's leaning towards no because there are no fossils of that suggest this kind of integument. There are skin impressions, but they show no integument, such as pycnofibers, as well as the fact that they are absolutely huge and lived in a very warm climate at the time. The Hell Creek Formation was pretty warm, despite being in modern day South Dakota, as well as other states that were probably pretty cold in the winter today, but not likely in not likely in the Cretaceous, because it used to be a jungle or forest, not jungle. It's like a wetlands and temperate forests. Very humid, very warm. Anyways, and what we know of warm-blooded large animals is that they don't have a lot of integument like hair. Elephants, they don't have a lot of hair. They have a little bit of hair, like on their tails, but they don't have a lot. And with rhinos, they don't have a lot of hair either. They're very big. Asian elephants, they live in very humid and thick forests like the ones in the Hell Creek Formation. Very humid places, some wetlands and big forests, yeah. And those Asian elephants don't have a lot of hair. Anyways, so what I did isn't completely accurate, but it's also, sort of like those trick questions You know, you can't disprove it, but you can't prove it either. So it's accurate either way. I did try to go for a little style though by giving him a little beard there, little pycnofiber beard. And I also tried to match the lifestyle through the design of this Rex. You can see many multiple scars in its body. You can see a scratch mark there, bite mark there on its neck, bite mark on its calf, some marks of dirt and scrapes and bruises on its body and legs. And let's see, let me think of other things. Tyrannosaurus Rex, their arms are famously very small, but they were not absolutely useless and vestigial like in a belly sore, because they actually had digits that could flex and they had arms that could move. And it was shown that they theoretically could have muscles strong enough to lift a 400-pound weight. So they must have been used for something. Some of the theories are holding smaller prey down, or latching onto females during the mating season. Uh, let's see. They were also not as fast as one might think. In Jurassic Park, the T Rex was able to catch up to a Jeep going as fast as it could on a game trail. So, it can't actually do that. It can't run at 35 miles per hour, as the movie said that they clocked the T Rex at. It couldn't actually do that because it was far too large to move that fast. If it did move that fast, its legs would break under the sheer force of moving that fast. Some theories are stating that it could have moved at uh, around 10 miles, upwards to 18 miles at its maximum, like, peak limit. So a fit human being could outrun it. But that makes sense because it's meant to. It was there to hunt large prey that could also, not run as fast as smaller animals. Some hadrosaurs were about as big as a T Rex. So, of course, they wouldn't be able to move way faster than it. Same with ceratopsians. Ceratopsians, they couldn't move that fast, or couldn't have. It's like a huge elephant. There was also evidence suggesting that T Rexes have a parenting style reminiscent of some birds of prey, like eagles. where both parents take care of the nest and their offspring uh, throughout their offspring's entire life. Or not entire life, but until they reach adulthood. Which means they made a nest together and they watched over their eggs together and they took turns watching their offspring as one hunted for food and the other watched over their offspring. And they would do that until their offspring became old enough to fend for themselves. Evidence also suggests that their offspring were a lot leaner and faster than the adults. Some people said that the fossils of the younger subadult and juvenile Tyrannosauruses were not young Tyrannosauruses at all, but rather another species of Tyrannosaur known as Nanotyrannus or small tyrant. And it's a very heated debate amongst the paleontologist community. I, for one, do not subscribe to that theory that it is a different species or genus. I subscribe to the theory that it is actually just a young Tyrannosaurus. They also recently thought that they discovered two more species of Tyrannosaurus, calling it Tyrannosaurus imperator and Tyrannosaurus regina, which seems to not be accurate because it has been shown that all those bones that they said were different enough to call a new species were not so different, and that there's not just no evidence for, or very little evidence for two different species, but also very little evidence for sexual dimorphism. And that some Tyrannosaurus just looked slightly different from other Tyrannosauruses. Which makes sense because if you had like 1,000 human skeletons, all of them were around the same age, then they would look pretty similar. And you wouldn't look at all of them and say that there were like more species of humans if they were all just Homo sapien skeletons. It's just that they look slightly different, you know? But anyways, this is my drawing of a Tyrannosaurus Rex sitting down. I might show more drawings later on. Anyways, bye.